Hey everybody, Tim Anderson here, aka Renfill, and welcome to the next book review here on my YouTube channel. I just read a book in record time for me. I used to plow through books at an insane pace before Netflix, before PlayStations, before Xboxes, before all of the distractions that I have as an adult growing up in the pre-internet era. All I had time to do was read. And I actually did grow up in the pre-internet era. We had internet when I was a young teenager, but it was not mainstream yet. I was born in 80, so we had internet, I think around 91, 92 for my dad's business. But it was not like it is today. And even though I got into PC gaming, you still weren't playing that many titles. So I had a lot of time to read back in the day. So anyway, I digress. I just finished the third book in the Chronicles of Amber series in about 6 days. It's taken me about 3 weeks for the previous entries. So we're going to talk about that today. Today's review is all about The Sign of the Unicorn, which is the third book by Roger Zelazny in the Amber series. But before we get going, if you haven't watched the two previous videos, feel free to look those up here on YouTube. And if this is your first time here, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, all those good things. Join our Discord, links are down below. There's also a link to my Goodreads profile if you want to read any of my books or if you want to read any of the reviews of books that I have read since I got a Kindle late last year. Let's dive in. So, Side of the Unicorn is the third book in this series, as previously mentioned. And I feel like this is the one where we start to get a sense of just how manipulative all of the members of the family of Amber really are. Now, we've known that to some degree through previous entries, um, but this is the first time where we have all of the siblings together and they're all, I'm going to use air quotes here, working towards a common goal. Now, I felt like this was more of a, this book was almost more like a murder mystery book than it was anything else. The previous two entries we had Corwin trying to figure out what was going on, and then trying to retake Amber and get the crown, and then finally got that, and then this book immediately kicks off with a murder happening, and then that immediately turns into this who done it, and we all know that one of the siblings is who done it, but which sibling that is, we don't know yet. And so this book is the first time when we could really get all the siblings together in one space because they all have a vested interest because they all know that one of them is the one who did it, but they don't know which one. And then this spins into needing to figure out what happened to the missing brother Brand, who has been locked away somewhere, and no one's been able to contact him. And Corwin gets this idea, well, hey, we're all here together. Why don't we all use our trumps at the same time and see if we can't rescue him? And they do, and in that rescue attempt, as they rescued him from the tower and bring him back to Amber, someone stabs him, and the only people in the room were the siblings. So then it expounds that and goes, well, shit, now we really need to figure out who done it because not only did someone kill the one brother, they just tried to kill the other brother. Lots of stuff start happening. Suspicions being, shade is being thrown everywhere. Everyone's sus at this point. Um, it gets worse. Corwin goes up to go to bed, and someone tries to knife him in his chambers, which sends him on this, back to Shadow Earth for reasons I won't dive into entirely. I mean, I am spoiling some stuff, but you need to read the book. Gets back to Shadow Earth and starts remembering more things from the time of amnesia. And as that starts to come, as his memories start to come back, we come to realize that Brand is at the center of that and looks like he really tried to help Corwin. Corwin just didn't remember it at the time. And so, he feels like he can maybe not trust Brand because he can't trust any of his siblings really, but he feels like he can maybe trust him a little bit. Um, and the course of the adventure follows along. We do find out who, in fact, tried to knife Brand and kill him. We then find out who did what, and we see that there were multiple parties, basically kind of like two factions. And then we also come to find out that the Black Road that we have been seeing pop up throughout book two, it started in book one into book two. Um, Corwin thought that was his curse that had caused that, Comes to find out that might not actually be the case. It might actually be something deeper than that, something to do with Shadow itself, the Courts of Chaos. We're not exactly sure. But there is a little bit of relief on Corwin's part of knowing that maybe, at the very least, he might have opened the door for some of these creatures to come through and use the Black Road, but the Black Road is not a result of his curse. It has something to do with something else that's going on. And as we get towards the end of the first book, we find out that they eventually, him and Random, and end up in the real Amber, which is their Amber is just a copy of, and they didn't know that. And as they get into the real Amber, they find the primordial pattern, and it has been stained with the blood of someone from Amber's line, and the pattern is therefore um, has a big splotch on it, and that's what's probably at the cause of this Black Road and all these other things that are taking place because the original pattern has been ruined, so to speak, and they got to figure out how to try to fix that. And this is the first book where we're left with a cliffhanger ending. Like it just they figure that out, they get to they get to the real pattern, they figure out they're gonna have to do something about it, and then the book just ends, and it's like, what? Like, how can you just leave us with a cliffhanger ending like that? So it is what it is. So this one definitely has a lot of more mystery elements. We also get a full chapter of random. I think it's chapter 2 or chapter 3. It's just random talking about his adventures and what led to him stumbling into Corwin's house, or not Corwin's house, I think it was Fiona's house in book 1 with those creatures that were coming after him that him and Corwin have to dispatch in the very first book. We now get a backstory that goes into all of that, what Random had been doing, what brought him to Shadow Earth, all this other stuff. So there's a whole chapter where it's just Random, as opposed to a Corwin point of view, which is very interesting. Um, Corwin definitely has similarities. Random has a lot of similarities to Corwin, but he's a different character. So it was interesting getting inside of his character's head because it's all told from a first-person perspective. So it's a very unique way of doing things. Uh, Once again, had a lot of fun. I love the Amber books. I haven't read these in like 20 years, so I have a vague, or I thought I do. I think I do. I think I have a vague recollection of where the overall story goes, but I also completely forgot about some stuff along the way. So it's interesting for me to see if my remembrances are as good as they should be, or if all that weed and time has has knocked a few things loose up here. But so far, it's been a great ride. It's almost like coming back and reading the books for the first time, so it's been very enjoyable. Highly recommend that you read them. You can pick them up individually. There's also the Great Book of Amber, which has all 10 volumes together. They're very short reads. If when I say that, even though it takes me like 3 weeks to get through one, they're only like 10 chapters. I think they're about 50, 60,000 words each one, so they're not big reads at all, compared to, say, trying to read a Sanborn novel or something from Robert Jordan. So dive in if you haven't already. And again, if you like this review, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, all those good things. Join our Discord, links are down below. You can also follow along to my Goodreads page over on the other site. And if you'd like to read some of my writing, which I would love it if you did, I publish chapters twice a month for the Weave in the Void world in that first novel, which is The World Behind Me. Those are getting published over at our Patreon page for this project. It's the Wandering Hermits. It's patreon.com/Wandering Hermits. It's my brother, my wife, and I. I'm doing all the writing. We have the novel series. Chris is doing the chapter artwork. It's very much like Dragonlance. I'm also the writer behind the tabletop source book and the first campaign module, which are due out Q2 of 2022. And I'm also doing all the narration and writing on the point and click adventure game that my brother and I are building, set in the same world. You can pre-order all those things, get access to the chapters, all that stuff's over on Patreon. If you want to figure all that out, dive over there. It'd be great if you do. You can also pick up any of my other books. Links are down below. I've got a compilation out there of sci-fi and fantasy anthology, and of course, Echoes of the Past, which is the first book in the saga of Lucemia. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Happy reading.